Hello, this is Carrie with Create Love, and I wanted to do a quick video on who is worthy of our time, our attention, and our energy. And this was inspired by, I'm on a little bit of a kick of getting into Charles Eisenstein's work right now, and I just listened to his talk that he gave recently on staying sane in the next 5 years. I think I'll put a link down below this video. I get to see as I grow and evolve, like how much of this that I do, where I'm just pointing people to other people's work and the richness of his work. It is amazing to me. It is amazing to me that for whatever reason, I haven't really dived into his world until now. Maybe I wasn't completely ready. Maybe all parts of me hadn't formed to be able to see him or like value his message, or maybe it's just synchronicity. I don't know exactly what it is. And I can't remember the last time that I had somebody say things, actually throughout the progression of things that he's talking about in videos over the past 5 years, say things that were so resonant with an inner knowing that I had and hadn't articulated in quite the same way. It really felt like an experience of somebody being inside of my head or my knowing or my consciousness. It's pretty wild, and I imagine that the work that I put out into the world will be highly influenced by his thought leadership, at least over the next few months as I dive into it, and may even be somebody, I don't even know how I would go about getting somebody like him as a mentor, or if that would just be like, I don't know, I haven't thought about that, or if he even were to do anything like mentorship, but it was really spellbound by the complexity and nuance of thought and the interweaving of hope, the connection between our minds and our hearts and our ability to step into a vision. And actually step into a vision, he talks about a vision that is similar to a vision that I see and was not able to articulate in the same way. So I'm pretty fascinated by the community that he is developing, and I get to dive more into that. And so this piece is highly inspired by that thought leadership. And I was thinking about this question that I've been in this for really quite a period of time. Like, who and what is worthy of my time, energy, and attention, and with people, with where I put my attention overall in the world. Charles talks about how reality it's an invitation. There's a shared reality. A lot of times in personal development or spiritual, more woo-woo circles, we get into this thing of talking about how we create our reality, our individual reality, and that everybody's creating their realities. And there is like an element of truth in all of that. And then there's also this invitation for this group experience of reality that is so well explained within the context of like community, like families, community systems, like hold and maintain these like reality structures. They nurture realities for people, mothers, fathers, caregivers, families, communities are nurturing like these communal realities. And even though, again, like a lot of the things that I'm going to say in this video are going to be very reflective and influenced by Charles Eisenstein's work right now, and I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to flow with it. I'm not going to cite him with every single idea. Just know that this is very influenced by his work. So anyway, so we have these like collective, we have these collective realities, and within all of this, and we have this like level of like social media realities, and then like all of these differing views and differing life experiences and different perceptions and lenses that so many people view the world with according to their life experience, their culture. And then we have a whole mix, like where I live in the United States, there's like a whole mix of this and a lot of people that feel in sort of disharmony with all of that, and where to put the attention in like all of the mass amounts of things can almost feel chaotic at times, like in all of this, where to put our attention, and also where to put our attention on like on a personal level, you know, what is worthy of our attention and our energy, and what we are actually looking to create in the vision that we're stepping into in terms of projects, mental thoughts, spaces, partners. Romantic partners are such a huge influence in our life, family, friends, all of that. And the beautiful thing, the beautiful realization that like I kind of always have known in myself to be true, and that I feel like in a lot of ways I was walking through the world and doing this and not seeing the value in being able to articulate the way that I was kind of like already on the path, that essentially like in some senses, wherever we are, everybody is worthy. Whoever is in front of us is worthy of that time, energy, and attention in that full presence of who we are and like the love of who we are in that moment. You know, that everybody came here to praise, to receive, to give, to create. Everybody came here with this creative potential as a person. And in these little moments of a conversation where we're able to listen or to speak our truth, a conversation where we're able to bring in grace for ourselves or grace for the other, like in all of these little interactions throughout the day, we're actually creating and stepping into a new beautiful world and a new beautiful reality. Because a lot of, you know, I brought this up in the last video, it's like we don't really know where change comes from. And some of this change just comes from like the change that is happening within the field when we decide moment to show up with things like kindness, appreciation, praise, patience, creativity, with an energy and a spirit of giving and receiving. In that sense, everywhere we go, everything is worthy of the giving and the receiving. And then the larger answer to that question really is in things like partnership. That has been a huge question of mine. Not all of the things that I have experimented interpersonally I have brought into Create Love yet, mostly due to like the resources of like time and skill set, and like mostly time and skill set and organization of ideas, and being sort of in this evolution of where I'm going with the ideas of Create Love, and not really even being able to catch up with them. Like, for example, I did a video at the end of this year about what I learned about relationships between men and women, and some of it in dating, some of it in observations, some of it in interviews, all of these things. And you know, as the end of the year, I wasn't dating. I completely stopped dating as of like September last year. The last person that I dated and had a closer, intimate relationship with passed away. And it was just such a big thing for me to hold that I've actually been doing grief work. I've been doing a lot of like monthly grief tending circles. I'm a highly sensitive person, and I didn't understand the extent that I hadn't allowed myself to grieve throughout my life. And so grief, you know, was something that needed to be tended to. And I needed to tend to myself while still being true to this vision that I had for Create Love, and to go out and do my best to move through it and show up for you with the level of truth that I was comfortable with sharing at that point. Like, I'm going to share more interviews related to grief and the relationship between grief and love. And there's even like a tenderness in my heart right now. And sometimes when that happens, I don't know if it's too soon to speak about something. I don't know that I will speak much about that particular story. I don't think that all stories need to be told. And I don't think all stories need to be told in certain ways in order to honor our particular truth and universal truths. And anyways, in all of this, it was pretty recent that I thought that, you know, maybe I'd kind of like open myself up to dating again, to exploring things in terms of partnership. And I think that's a different video. Anyways, I've thought about this thing of in discernment and in selection, and like the selection who we spend our time with romantically, that such a big influence of who we are. And it's a mutual influence, and it's the ability for us to, I don't know if it's like be the lock be the key that unlocks the lock, or just like help each other step into our potentialities and be more of ourselves. And there is such a huge truth to that I feel. And I actually felt a little bit of a weight in terms of making a partner selection, because okay, I've been big in the personal development world. A big part of the personal development world is all building up a sense of self and self-esteem. So a lot of times I'll go out and like talk about like, I appreciate this about myself and that about myself, and this, and these are my gifts, and what are your gifts? And it really is this thing that nobody is any more special than anybody else. It's like with the modeling of me being in my esteem and being in my self-love, the idea is to model that for you. It's not to go out and to just talk about myself all the time. Even though I'm talking about myself and my experience on this camera, and at the same time it's like trapped in this reality where any kind of expression that I do is inherently also my own expression. Life is this wonderful and amazingly complex thing, and we get to be where we are. So it is always my desire when I speak about myself, and I speak about myself in praising terms, that I praise myself, that you use this as a reflection to praise yourself, that we are all worthy of praise. We are all worthy of love. We are all worthy of praise. And I know there's a lot of things in the personal development world. It's like, you don't have this because you're not worthy yet, or you're, like not ready yet. You haven't, done the things to have the outside reality reflected for, and put in enough of the work. And there's a lot to be said for like all of the work that we put into life, and the beauty and the honor in being able to be alive and put in work to our skill set, into our dreams, and to all of the spaces. And getting back to praise or talking about ourselves, I know that one of my gifts is in the realm of intimacy. I've been honored to have that reflected back to me, the beautiful space that I'm able to hold in that space. And I know it is a gift. I don't take the gift lightly. I think everybody has gifts and I don't take that lightly. I know that there's the possibility for me to be half of, a very inspirational couple out in the world that is part of this vision of bringing this beautiful world, out into our reality even more and more and more. And so I've sort of had this thing of like a weight in terms of like discernment about selection of even selection about who I spend my time with. And then there is my energy that gets to be preserved for all other spaces, and really what it is to be in that decision-making process, what it is to welcome the opportunities and the wonderful people that there are in the world, because there are so many wonderful people that are deserving. They are deserving, but not necessarily the aligned people for us. So one of the things about this experience with Charles Eisenstein is the beauty and simplicities of his words, that like when we just show up, even like in partnership, and finding that partnership and finding the person that, has the values reflected and equal amount of energy in each other, or devotion in each other, whatever those words are, you're met equally, okay? And you want to create something equal. It is in just the space of being in the beauty of love and devotion in these spaces, whether or not it's just in this like little family unit, that starts to change the entire like field to change the entire world. So we don't actually need to go out and be part of like some kind of power couple that goes out into the world. And, you know, I was always so amazed by the Obamas and like what a pair that they were. And that thing of like doing, not that I bring up that, I also, the Carters, oh my gosh, but I have no political aspirations or interests in that per se, but they're just they're such beautiful examples of service out into the world, of a man and a woman looking forward to serve, not putting all the energy on themselves, going out into the world to serve. And there was a great level of beauty in that. And like, who exactly would that partner be? Like I said, not in a political sense, but in the sense of more like a greater level of service to the world. And there was this relaxation within me as I was listening to Charles Eisenstein about how all of like these simple moments of love and devotion, even if nobody ever witnesses in them, even if they don't become like the couple that forms the, you know, whatever project, or they are just the loving devotional couple that like influences each other and influences the whole field by, you know, by what they are creating in their families and their friends and the community and all of the ripple effect around them. That is just as profound of a change and a contribution. And there was a sense of like relaxation that I felt, that like maybe these decisions don't have to be so huge after all. Of course, they are important, and discernment is a huge, you know, important thing on the level of who we go into partnership with, who we form businesses with, who we form alliances with, all of these things. Like, it does matter, and then it also doesn't. It's like both at the same time. And within the realm of like how to really harness more of this gorgeous energy and like make the contribution of our life meaningful to us and to others, there's a lot to be said for the simplicity of like being able to be very clear about what's important. You know, there's a wonderful book on love. I should probably at some point, or I could at some point, do some book summaries, because there's so many amazing books on all different types of love. There's this one book that talks about the different concentric circles of love, and that like in like the very, you know, the first circle is like you and your higher power, or whatever your truth is, and then there is your partner. So it is a huge choice. Whoever you choose as a partner is a huge choice. That is like the person who really is the priority after you and your connection to source. Then there is like beyond that, you know, like children and immediate family, and then, you know, like the work and community friend sphere, and then like greater community beyond that, and then the global community. And there is so much to be said for community. And in all of that, like that prioritization of really where our energy gets to go. And it really is the thing that makes the most sense. Like, you know, in those times of deep need for nourishing, like where are we going to go? We have to go first to ourselves and to a higher power, higher truth. Then in those parts of like deep nourishing, like when like all of a sudden life takes a turn for one or the other, like who is the other person that's holding our hand in that, in those key choice moments? And even more so in this world of like, who has the bravery to walk through the uncertainty of these times together and to hold a vision for the partnership, for the family, for the community, for the world of a, you know, more beautiful future. And then after that, it is these, you know, these circles. It is the sort of the give and take in these circles. Like we don't expect this, that we should either be on like the bedside, you know, at the end of somebody's life of like a complete stranger, nor would they be on ours. You know, we're going to make those decisions about the relationships that are the most important to us. And those are generally going to be, if we are blessed enough to have that relationship with our family, or can heal the relationship with our family to create that family structure. They're going to be our partner. They're going to be then, our friend group, our chosen family. Like in my group, we call each other soul family. So beautiful. And then greater community. And, there is this thing about, like, really in terms of time, energy, and attention, that there should be this level of hierarchy there. And at the same time, finding community, like Charles Eisenstein's community. I don't even know how I can get involved in his community, but a community of common people that have a vision for a beautiful world and believe in the possibility that it can be created through small and big steps and collaborative efforts, rather than believing that like the world is just going to succumb to chaos. And the thing is that we don't really know. We don't really know what's going to happen over the next 50 years, 100 years, 500 years. There can be a lot of despairing things and like news that we hear, or fear, or all of those spaces. But what do we want to give into? Do we want to give into the fear, or do we want to step into the brave possibility that we can be change makers? That we chose to be here in this time. I know that's very woo-woo. It's very like new age. We chose to be here in this time. Yeah, and we also, that is a lens, a way to look at meaning, that we chose to be here. We chose to be the ones who are brave enough to risk looking naively positive and to see the positivity in the little steps and in the big steps, and see ways that we can change together. Another beautiful thing about this, about what is worthy of our time, energy, and attention, and that I loved about this being just around in this thought loop that Charles Eisenstein has created in this community, and I get to see what all of that is. And it also, like, when I bring up anybody, really, I don't expect that I'm going to dive into somebody's work and agree with every single thing that they've ever said. Like, we get to be these unique individuals and to learn and from each other in all different ways, whether it's through the internet or books or videos. Something powerful about letting ourselves influence others and be influenced by others. But anyways, in this whole story of the excitement, my excitement of like, oh my gosh, is there this tribe, and is there this community out there that is so resonant with me that I just like didn't really realize before exists? One of the really exciting things that I found in this and listening to some of his work is that we get to make these steps together. Like, we get to make steps, whether they're ecological steps or whether they are relational steps, like different slight levels of healing, or choosing compassion and forgiveness over vengeance in a moment, or over like retaliation was the word I was looking for. I couldn't think of it. In a moment, or making these different choice points, that we get to influence each other and find people that help us come to that point together, which I find really beautiful. So in sum, it's like, who is really worthy of our time, our energy, and our attention? Everything is worthy of our time, energy, and attention when we're doing it from a space of love, when we're doing it from a lens of compassion, when we're doing it from this lens of presence, because that is transforming the field, the energetic world around us, moment by moment by moment. And at the same time, we get to be tremendously discerning about how we decide to spend time with ourselves, what for us our truth is, or our higher power, who our partner gets to be, how we spend time with family. Like, these are the spaces that we get to be praised in, to praise, to give, to receive, to create in. And these are the rich spaces that actually end up forming our lives. And with all of that too, for everybody, it's like, it doesn't need to be the storybook romance or like some kind of Hollywood story. It gets to be the beauty of that aligned person, and that aligned person could be so many different possibilities. You know, one of the things that I think happens a lot in the United States is we turn people into commodities, and we think that, oh, we can take a little bit of this piece of this person, a little bit of this piece of this person, and combine this and that and this and that and this and that, and get this like combined person. And like, people aren't like that. Like, as we go out in the world and we find what is aligned to us, you know, some people will have whatever the thing is that we're, you know, like interested in. Some people will have a huge spiritual practice. The other people just practice spirituality by being kind. Simplest type of spirituality there is, just be kind. Some of the most spiritual people I've ever met in my life did not identify themselves as being spiritual. You know, maybe we like find or pick the person who has had like the great huge career and is like incredibly self-expressed, or it might be the person that like self-expresses in, you know, amongst their family and friends, and that, you know, has a little writing project or a little, you know, little art projects or various different things, and express themselves beautifully within their own world. You know, so like anything that I just brought up, two things that obviously I find important is some level of like spirituality or kindness, and some level of like self-expression or creativity. And they can be and show up in all different ways when we look for what is aligned for us, rather than trying to compile some kind of thing or make people into compilations or commodities or anything. I mean, that would be a whole nother video as well. It's like the soul resonance, finding the soul resonance where it is mutual, where it is the things align in the right way, where we're truly being seen and valued. I mean, Charles Eisenstein is an intellectual example, but like, how could I not have seen this intellectual example for so long? How is it possible? I must not have been ready. And sometimes there's somebody who might not be ready to see us, or we're not ready to see them because we're still kind of cooking. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, it's amazing. When we're ready, we see the things that we value, and that could be a community, like the thought leadership and the community around creating that. I get to read all of his stuff now. What is this book that Charles Eisenstein has? The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. And see how I can connect into that community. So whether it's a community or whether it is, you know, a friendship or a romantic partnership, you can trust that when we keep on showing up and being kind and real to ourselves, moment by moment, and doing the best that we can in every single moment, that the real things will align, the things where we value each other will align. And we will step into that beautiful world that we all know in our hearts is possible. Sending you lots of love.